Hello, my lovelies, and thank you for tuning into Raw Chatter. Again, I am your host speaking, Vicky Midwood. I am an addiction eliminator, an integrative health coach, and somebody who is here to help you to think, feel, and function better. Now, I really feel passionate about this topic. This is one of the things that is the key to how I help people to transform how they think, feel, and function. And whether that is helping them to deal with emotional issues that have been challenging them potentially for most of their life, whether it's addiction issues around alcohol or food, whether it's body image, people pleasing, perfectionism, or if it's an actual physical health issue like an autoimmune disease that they are struggling with, or learning that you have got ADHD or autism. Because all of these things create a set of feelings and thoughts and to some degree behavior patterns. And the language that we use around these issues, these topics, is absolutely critical. So this podcast, if you are new, welcome. It's all about helping you to understand addiction and recovery and reinvention. And really what I help people to do is to transform how they think and feel. What I offer is not a quick fix. I'm not looking to just deal with the symptoms or the things that you are turning to as a solution, because often we turn to food or alcohol or drugs or gambling or shopping or scrolling on our phones as a solution to dealing with or coping with life, what's going on, how we are feeling, whether it's to numb out, whether it's to create a dopamine hit, whether it's to try to energize us, take our minds off things, whatever it is, these are usually a solution. And sometimes, not always, they can then end up over time being a problem in and of themselves. But how we think about these things, how we talk about these things will absolutely change how we feel and therefore how we behave. And this is something that is tantamount to helping people to get the transformation that they want, because our words are not neutral. And it's so important for us to take this on board. Every single word that we think or say or write down is creating our reality. And I just want to let that sink in. Our words create our reality. Now, I did a podcast last week on anxiety and how that can be addictive. And this is part of it, because the way that we talk about things is very much a part of whether we feel anxious around it or not. And without a shadow of a doubt, there are many, many people who are addicted to chaos, who are addicted to a crisis, because they continue to keep inviting this stuff into their lives down to the words that they are using. Words are like vows, and the more you repeat them, the more you're reinforcing that that is what you are going to get. And this is such an important and powerful topic that I did want to do an episode on it. Now, I have touched on this because it falls into expectations to some degree as well. And I did a topic on expectations way back. I think it might have been as far back as in series 2 or 3, because we're on series 6 now of this Raw Chatter podcast. But it's really important to recognize, because our words actually reveal a lot about us, because they reveal what we actually believe. Most of us are not 100% fully aware and fully conscious, as you know, I've shared it many, many times, of what we're saying and what we're doing. 95% of everything that we do is run on automatic pilot. Our unconscious is running what we do. And it needs to be that way. Just as a reminder, your brain has got 2 jobs only. One is to stop you from dying, and the other is to do that using as little energy as possible. In other words, it is going to try and take the easy route, the easy option, the way that is going to mean that it doesn't have to spend much energy doing it. And what actually our words do is they tell us truly what you believe. Because what I'm finding at the moment, and I'm sure you're seeing this everywhere too, on social media, people are saying one thing as a headline and they are emitting this persona of a way that they are being and living and what they are perhaps promoting. But when you actually listen to the words that they say when they're not in sales mode or talking about the things specifically, it gives a clue to what they really believe, because these words come out automatically. We're not aware of what we're actually saying, but your words will tell me what you really believe. And the way that you say them is also crucial. So when I'm talking about language, it is about the words, but it's also about the tone and the emphasis that we put on those words. And so this is something that maybe some of you know, and maybe some of you sort of know but don't realize how important it is. Because our words do really reveal what we actually believe and not what we say we believe. And there's a massive disconnect. So, for example, if you say, "Oh, I'm fine," or if you say, "Oh, I've got this," or "Oh, I don't have a choice," what we're really saying is, actually, I'm struggling a bit. I don't know if I have got this. And I feel stuck. I feel trapped in some way. But we kind of pretend, don't we, that everything is okay. But when people then start talking, what I often hear is then complaining about this has happened and that has happened, and how they don't actually know what to do. They are feeling a certain way. So even though the words they say sound really, really positive, as you start to get into conversation, you can see that actually they are feeling anything but. Now, the important thing that we need to take on board at the moment is particularly, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the world, which is contributing to us perhaps feeling less in control of our own lives, even though we potentially have more control than we think. And I know that sounds like a totally contradictory statement, but here's the thing. Let's just look at what is going on at the moment. We've got AI that is coming in. It's potentially changing industries overnight. We've got wars going on that just seem to be endless. It just seems everywhere you turn, there's a war somewhere in some country. There is something happening. There's massive political instability pretty much across the globe at the moment. It feels that way, doesn't it? There's economic pressures, and there is a constant stream of threat-based headlines. Now, I already shared last week, I don't watch the news, and I really highly recommend that none of my clients watch the news either. You will find out what is going on, I can guarantee you. But the human brain, we humans, we're looking for certainty and we want control. And one of the fastest ways that we look at that and try and get it is through our language. So we convince ourselves that we are fine, that we kind of call struggle strength, or we look at burnout as being a commitment, or perhaps we look at chaos as just being the season I'm in. Now, in a way, it's good that we're not catastrophizing it and we're not inviting more of this stuff in. But also, it means that we know that we're out of sync with our nervous system, which is often why we feel wired but tired, or tired but wired. In other words, you're wanting to do stuff during the day, but you feel too tired. And then at night, when you're supposed to be resting and sleeping, you feel too wired. So it's all kind of backwards, upside down, back to front. We may be successful, but perhaps we're also resentful of the time, the effort, the energy, the difficulties that we are having to deal with on a day-to-day basis. to look on the outside successful. And we may feel that we are massively capable and we can do this stuff, but we also feel trapped. And this is really important when we look at just who we are being. Because when we're telling ourselves it's okay, what we tend to do then is use these things to then turn to stuff to help us to feel better, because we know that we are out of alignment with what we're saying and what we're believing. And this means that our words are even more important. It's about being honest with ourselves. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of some really interesting 4 and 5 day events that have been going on. I shared this in one of my newsletters. There's a lot of stuff been going on online about helping people to utilize AI and just understanding as coaches and as people who are selling in brick and mortar establishments, just how to make the best of what is going on at the moment. And it's very interesting listening to a lot of people and the words that they use. And I can't help myself. This is what I do. But I can hear people reinforcing their own limiting beliefs in terms of, I don't have the time. I want to join this program, but I don't have the time. Or I said I was going to do it, but, and some kind of crisis. They will talk about some crisis or massive life event that happened. I know that next time I'll do it. Next time I'll have more time and I'll be prepared. And what we all know, because we've been there and we've said it ourselves, is that next time there will be another crisis. There will be another reason why not. And why? Why do we know this? Well, because life just is going to life, no matter what. But how we talk about it and how we think about it, and if we are always talking about it being so hard and it being a struggle, and just when I'm on top of things, a crisis or a catastrophe happens, I'm going to invite you to get honest and look at the fact that perhaps you are inviting this in by the words that you use, because our words absolutely do create our reality. So if we are in victim mode and if we're talking about, oh, this stuff always happens to me and I don't understand why just when I'm on top of everything, something else crops up, there's another emergency. Well, that's because to some degree you're expecting it and to some degree you're inviting it in. Which is why we have got to be so aware of the words that we use, because we then get addicted to the emergencies, to the chaos, to the crisis. And we talk about struggle and we talk about it being so hard for me and I've overcome so much that there's more to come and I need to do more work. And if you're saying things like, I need to do more work, you're inviting in another crisis and another emergency so that you can indeed do more work. And this is where we've got to help ourselves to recognize that if we don't want more of the stuff that we've already got, we are going to have to talk about things in a different way. And you've got to start looking at what is it that you do want. Instead of consistently and continuously talking about what is happening and how hard it is and how terrible it is, and then looking back and finding more and more examples of how hard it was and how terrible it is and a struggle, we need to ask ourselves, what do I actually want? And what does that look like for me? What are the words that I need to be using? Okay, because ultimately, our thoughts will create our future. Our thoughts will create our reality. So what do you actually want? Not what have you already got and don't want more of, but what do you actually want? Because when you talk about that, when you talk about how it's going to feel, when you talk about what you are going to do from a place of the future, the new version of you, your new identity, then that is where you are going to start to find that you think a different way. And we know that if we think a different way, we will feel differently about things. When we feel differently about things, we will by default take different actions or different patterns of actions. We're more likely to get conscious. We're more likely to pause and stop before we do something and ask ourselves the question, is this me just reinforcing my current beliefs and me telling myself it's too hard for me to do it differently? Am I working with the future version of me towards that? Or am I staying stuck and addicted to the chaos, to the struggle, to the challenges, to the hardship? Because most of us are, but we don't realize the power of our words in helping us to do that. And so this is why I want you to be really conscious, or start to get really conscious of what are you actually saying. Because the more we talk about stuff, the more we explain, the more we justify, the more we're going on and on about why it is so, the more you're going to get more of that stuff. And so what I want us to look at is the fewer words we use, the more powerful we're going to feel. If we have to over-explain something, if we have to ensure that the person understands us, then in some way, shape or form, we're not connected. We're not connected to ourselves. We're not connected to other people in the way that we want to be, because we're kind of desperate. I need you to understand me because then I'll be good enough. I need you to understand my point of view so that you won't judge me. I need you to tell me it's okay because I can't tell myself that it's going to be okay. Why? Because I never have, because I'm so used to staying in the struggle, staying in the hardship, staying in the challenge, and using language that keeps me there. So this means that we need to change how we speak, both internally, our internal chatter, but also externally. If you are somebody who gossips about other people, then expect to be gossiped about. If you hate the fact that rumors can ruin lives, don't be a person who spreads rumors. If you want to trust people, then if somebody shares something with you and they say, please don't tell anybody, this is completely in confidence, then don't be that person who goes and breaks that confidence and tells somebody else, because your words will create your reality. You will then be seen as not trustworthy. So think about, what is it that you actually want? And what I'm not saying to you is create false positivity. And I'm not saying fake it till you make it kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is really be mindful, because words are not neutral. So if you're saying something like, if you have issues around your body image and what you're looking at in the mirror, and you're saying things to yourself like, I hate how I look, I hate my thighs, or I hate my stomach, or I hate my nose, or I hate my hair, what are you inviting more in to your world of? More things to hate. Okay, so words are not neutral. And I'm not going to turn around and say that you should look at yourself and go, I love myself and love everything I see, because internally, your brain is just going to go, well, that's a load of old rubbish. What's a load of BS, right? Because it's not true. So what we can say is, though, let me notice when I'm looking at myself, the parts of me that are okay, the parts of me that, you know what, I'm all right with. You don't have to be over the moon about them, but you don't have to hone in on the stuff that you hate, because the more you look for the things that are wrong, that you dislike, the more in every area of your life, you're going to find things that you don't like, things that are wrong. Now, if you're happy and you're loving life, living that way, then be my guest. But if you are not living the life that you want, or that you say you want, because you're not aware of the power of your words, then I'm going to invite you to change things just a little bit. Because oftentimes we're very judgmental. And if we can help ourselves to be less judgmental of ourselves, therefore less judgmental of others, because we will judge others like we judge ourselves. And we will judge ourselves, by the way, like we judge others. So when somebody says, I'm not judgmental, number one, that's a lie. We all are. We're all humans and we do judge. We need to judge. It's called survival. If we didn't literally judge whether we thought somebody was safe or approachable in a nanosecond, we still wouldn't be here on the planet. So we all do judge, but it's to the length and the depth and the degree of your judging. How do you do that? The chances are that the more you critically judge others, the more you will critically judge yourself, even though you say out loud perhaps to other people that you don't judge, and you make a point of saying, I'm not a judgmental person. That tells me that actually you are. There's a phrase, you may have heard it, he who protesteth too much is in fact guilty of the thing that he is protecting. So oftentimes those who say I am not judgmental are the most judgmental, because we don't usually need to say what we're not. We just need to be. And in being, it means being aligned with your beliefs and the words that you use. Because when your words match your values, when your words are in alignment with your beliefs, then your nervous system will calm down. There will be less chaos. There will be less anxiety. When you stop lying to yourself, when you stop inviting in more chaos, more reasons to hate, more reasons to be frustrated, more reasons to get upset because other people didn't match your expectations or they didn't do what you wanted them to do in the time frame that you wanted them to do it, but you didn't actually explain very clearly what it is that you did want because you thought they knew. This is all of the stuff that stops us from having the health, the energy, focus, the joy, and the life that we want. So it's not about policing your language. It is about being in alignment, because your words are not just fillers. They are clear instructions to your brain, to your body, and to your future. So choose them like it matters, because they really do. So I'm going to set you a little bit of a task, if you like, so that struggle no longer is familiar, so that chaos doesn't feel like you're being productive. And I want you to just, for the next 7 days, just notice, what are the phrases that you keep repeating? What are the jokes that you make, perhaps about being busy or why you can't do stuff? And just keep a note of it. And also the way that you describe your work, your body, and your life. And this is not me asking you to be judgmental, but just write them down. Each day, just make a note of writing down the phrases that keep coming up over and over again, because this is awareness. And as you now know, I have an acronym that I use. It's ART. There is an art to transformation. There is an art to great health. There is an art to change. And the A stands for awareness. You can't change anything if you don't even know you're doing it. So we have to have awareness first. The R stands for responsibility. Once you've got that awareness, we then have to take responsibility for being here right now where we are. That awareness shows you why you are where you are. But then you take responsibility for it, and you take responsibility for changing it, because only you can. And then the T stands for taking timely, appropriate action. And that's the bit that most people need some help with. So that is your task. That's my invitation to do it. Should you take me up on it, please let me know how you get on. And if you do realize that you are indeed creating more in your future of the stuff that you really don't want, then let me know if you feel you need some help to change it. This is a really interesting little exercise to do just for yourself. Get curious. Let go of the judgment, just get curious. And notice, are you unknowingly creating more chaos, more struggle? Are you addicted to it? And if so, do you need some help getting out of it? Because I am here to help you to do just that, if you wish. And on that note, folks, I'm going to say, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you think that this episode may be helpful to somebody that you know, then please do pass it on to them, because the more people we can get listening, the more I'm going to be able to get some bigger and better guests on. And I have got a series of podcast episodes with guests coming up very soon. I know you've had quite a few episodes where it's just been me solo, but I'm getting more guests and more guests actually writing to me asking if they can be on the podcast, which is all very exciting. So as always, please do take care of yourself, folks. We only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So please look after it, because it is looking after you. And until next episode, take care of yourself and mind your language. Bye-bye.